Well, hello, everyone. Thank you for being with us today. I'd like to welcome each of you to another FranTastic InSights video segment whereby we introduce you to some very prominent personalities, all of whom are having a very positive impact on the ever-growing world of franchising. My name is David Craghead. I'm the Chief Franchise Expansion Officer for FranServe, and today I'll be your host for this week's FranTastic InSights podcast. FranServe is recognized as the world's largest franchise consulting and expansion organization. We have a very simple mission statement, and that is we facilitate and change people's lives in a very positive way through franchise ownership. And we do that through a network of incredible franchise brands in 39 different industry categories. Our growth initiatives are supported by a growing portfolio of franchise consultants. Some of you refer to them as brokers. It's all the same person, but they are dedicated to helping their clients explore franchise opportunities, which are deemed to be a perfect match to their individual search criteria. And today I'd like to introduce you to Mr. Arthur Cummins. He and his wife, Maria, are the founders of a very dynamic, progressive franchise brand by the name of the Real Food Academy. And the Real Food Academy is commonly referred to as a community-focused culinary center. They're dedicated to improving health and culinary skills through education and also through a hands-on experience. They are guided by the principles of functional medicine, which may be not exactly what you're expecting, but this really works. The Academy teaches smarter, health-conscious food choices regardless of dietary preferences. And whether catering to meat lovers or devoted vegans, they offer personalized guidance to help individuals make the most beneficial decisions for their health. So, Arthur, thank you for being with us today. I appreciate your time. And as I pass the microphone to you this afternoon, please share with the audience your business model description and the latest perspective on the Real Food Academy.
Well, thank you for the kind introduction, and thanks for the invitation, David. So our business model is well, I don't know how I could add to that amazing introduction. You kind of covered it all, but through cooking classes for kids, cooking classes for adults, parties, birthday parties for kids, and team building events for adults, and summer camps and winter camps, and everything culinary related. Our business model is just teaching people how to pay more attention to the ingredients that they're using to put their meals together. So that's pretty much our business model in a nutshell. It's also our differentiator from the standpoint that we've taken culinary education, which there are a few other brands out there doing the culinary education part, but we took the real food education and combined it together, and we're kind of very different in that sense.
And I guess that kind of molds into your mission statement. Would that be correct?
100%. So I don't know if you want me to jump ahead, but
Please,
yeah.
please.
So when Maria was invited to do the first cooking class that she ever did, she hadn't ever done a cooking class for kids. Because of her background in health and wellness and paying attention to nutrition, it never occurred to her to leave that component out of the classes, right? So if she was going to do a recipe, she was always teaching the kids how to make those choices as part of the cooking class itself. It came very naturally to her, but we found out later, because of all the attention that I received from the parents, that this was kind of a unique way of teaching kids. So when they were actually involved in the cooking portion itself, which is the fun part, the kids were remembering all of the health related part of the class as well. And that's that was our claim to fame, which is what got us started.
Okay, and beyond what you just explained to us, are there any other significant differences and or advantages of your brand as compared to maybe other brands in your industry?
Well, the significant difference is that our North Star is health and wellness, right? So there is no other company that I know of, and I check pretty regularly to make sure I continue to tell the truth on this, but there's no other company that pays as much attention to the ingredients that we do. because we're very well aware of the chronic disease problem that we have in this country right now. And sadly, it's getting worse. Everybody listening to this podcast probably knows somebody in their family or a friend that has either heart disease, type 2 diabetes, cancer, dementia, or one of those things. And we know 100 years ago, none of those things existed, right? So as ultra processed food came on the scene, you know, the line was sort of parallel going up and to the right. So as we started eating more ultra processed food, we started to see more of those chronic diseases. So Maria and I were aware of that fact early on, and it was part of our brand from day one. It wasn't a business decision or a branding decision. It's just the way we approached the classes. And apparently it resonated with a lot of people. And this is what we're still doing today, 18 years later.
It sounds like you have a science background.
A what? Science? No,
Yeah.
I actually, my background is financial services. And so I brought the business part to the equation, and Maria's background is in culinary. So she's in the kitchen and I'm doing the business part. That's why you're talking
Got it.
to me today and not to Maria.
A good blend.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a great partnership.
Arthur, tell me, or if you would please, describe what the perfect franchisee for the Real Food Academy looks like. What characteristics are you looking for in that individual?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So first of all, somebody that wants to be involved with food, but not restaurants, right? Somebody who's a purpose-driven type of person. Like they may be making money right now, but they maybe feel like they're not contributing much to society or to their community. So somebody really wants to make their mark. They want to do something that they feel very passionate about, like we do. Somebody that wants to be in the health and wellness space. That would be this was not would not only be a great brand for them to look at, but the argument that I make is not only are we in health and wellness, but I think we're doing some of the most important work within that category because we're literally getting to the root cause of chronic disease. And, you know, no offense to the other great brands in health and wellness, but what I say is if you're eating the wrong type of food day in and day out, there's no cold plunge or exercise or anything like that that you're going to be able to do to get yourself healthy and well. So we're very proud to be doing what we're doing. And yeah, those are the kind of people that I think should definitely take a look at the Real Food Academy.
Very good. Now, our brokers within FranServe are going to be listening to this podcast. So, for their benefit, can you give us a little bit of information about the really hot, desirable territories around the country that you'd like for us to help you fill?
Yes. So one of the benefits of being a micro emerging brand is that all of the hot markets are wide open. So I'm assuming that some of your consultants on this call are going to have had experience not being able to place certain brands in certain markets, right?
Yes.
We're just getting started. So Atlanta, Houston, you know, Fort Worth, all of these, Dallas, all of the hot markets, we're wide open in any of those markets. So I would say that would be a good place to start. South Florida would be amazing because we're in Miami. So we're going to support any location equally, but it would certainly be easier for somebody in South Florida to spend more time with us. So that would be, you know, the initial, you know, hotspot, I would say, all the major markets in South Florida.
Okay. We're mindful of the fact that culinary tastes and menus and recipes kind of change on a regional basis. Do you anticipate any regional changes to your business model as we help you grow across the country?
That's a great question, and it's something that we've talked about and considered. And I think you mentioned in the intro that we don't really care if somebody's carnivore or vegan or anything in between. We're very much agnostic to the type of food or the cuisine, if you will. It's literally the ingredients that make up the recipe. That's where we focus. So we don't care, you know, what kind of ribs you're making or what kind of Latin or Asian or Korean or spaghetti or pasta. We're going to have a conversation about the quality of those ingredients that go into those meals. So we have a few different frameworks that we use within our curriculum. With kids especially, we use the red light, yellow light, green light. So certain foods you can eat all day, every day, as much as you want. Other foods, we would say, you can eat it, but don't eat it every day. Bread or pasta would be an example of that. And then there's the red light foods, the one that's like really stay away from this type of food because it's problematic. And then the other framework that we use is sort of a bad, better, and best version of the ingredients that we're using. It's not always possible to get the very best ingredients for whatever reason, whether it's not affordable or it's not available. But there's always choices that people make when they're purchasing their food. And this is what we give guidance on.
Okay, good. I appreciate you being so thorough with your answers. That helps me understand a little bit more about your business model. And
Yeah.
also for the brokers and also for the clients that are watching this podcast, tell us a little bit about the design metrics of your territories. How do you create your territories?
Yeah, so our FDD says up to 150,000, right? So that's number one. That's enough people to have one location service. And then, of course, the other metrics that we look at, we have to have enough kids, right? Because a big part of what we do, in fact, we look at it each year, and last year was about 65% of our business came from children, right? So looking at the number of kids in an area and the number of schools is a big part of the metric. And then, of course, enough people overall and enough money. What we do is not cheap. So we're not going to do well in a lower income area, although we do serve lower income communities in our field trip programs and some of the services that we offer. But predominantly, people have to be able to afford our services. So we're looking at the total income in a certain area as well.
Okay. And as your model evolves and as you grow across the country, are you forecasting any significant changes over the next, say, 1 to 3 or even 3 to 5 years?
So because we're just getting started, I realized that we don't know what we don't know when it comes to developing our first handful of franchisees. So we are absolutely in no rush. We're going to take it slow. We're going to do it properly. I do realize that the first 3 or 5 franchisees that come on board are going to be my future validation. I realize if I screw them up, we're pretty much we're done, right? We're not going to go any further. So we're going to really do a lot of hand holding, get it right, put an emphasis on the training, because the truth is our business model is not a simple one, right? So it's going to require a lot of hand holding, and as I said earlier, it doesn't matter if they're in Fort Lauderdale, 20 miles from us, or if they're in Dallas, Texas. We're going to live with those people and make sure that they get as profitable and as happy as quickly as possible. So to answer your question, I would say we're in no rush. 3 to 5 franchisees in the next 2 or 3 years would be perfectly fine with us.
It sounds like those first 2 or 3 franchisees are going to have a real advantage.
Well, they're going to work directly with Maria and I. I guess that's one of the advantages of just getting started. Maria and I have been working a semi-absentee model for the last 5 years or so because we've been concentrating on franchising. So we spend little to no time in the Miami location because we were preparing to be in this position where we know that we're going to have to leave Miami and spend time in other parts of the country developing our franchisees. And we feel pretty confident about where we're at. If any of your people are in the mood to go to our Google reviews, we have a perfect 5.0 rating on Google. We have, I think, the last I checked, over 900 5-star reviews. So that's not 4.9 or 4.8. It's a perfect 5.0 rating. And the only reason I'm bragging about that is because most of those reviews are coming in not because of Maria and I, but because of our employees. And right. most of the reviews actually mention our people by name. So that's the way we've set ourselves up to be in the position where we're going to support our franchisees.
It sounds like you take really good care of your people.
We take really good care. I'm kind of a fanatic when it comes to processes, and doing things properly. Our whole company was based on trial and error. We didn't set out to open a business. actually, I don't know if we mentioned this early on, but 2008, for the people on this call that are old enough to remember, 2008 was a pretty ugly year in a lot of respects. My background was financial services, and so my entire business, evaporated overnight. And real estate, we were overly invested in real estate, so it was pretty ugly for us. Yeah, so that's how we got into the business in the first place. It was completely accidental. So as we started to realize that this is actually going to become a business, it was just a lot of trial and error, make a mistake and then correct it and document it and make a process out of it. So yeah, so we have some amazing processes in place. Our procedures are really, tight. And I think that's backed up by the reviews that I just told you about.
Very good. Arthur, can you tell us what effects, if any, is the current economy having on the Real Food Academy?
That's a good question. So we have been blessed. We've been really blessed with our business. Almost everything that we offer is sold out. In fact, we're just getting ready to a price increase across the board. We've been meaning to do a price increase for a few years, and we just, my wife and I keep, saying, hey, we got to sit down and do this price increase. But we're getting ready to increase prices across the board for everything that we offer. So we're very thankful. I don't want to come across like, detached or something like that. But in our market in Miami, I can't speak to other parts of the country, but we've been sold out in all of our classes, all of our camps for years and years.
Well, that's something not every brand can speak to, so that's very fortunate. Now, when we bring a new franchise applicant to you that invests in the Real Food Academy, what is the typical ramp up time for one of your new franchisees from signing of the franchise agreement to ribbon cutting?
Yeah, so that's a question that's hard for me to answer directly because we haven't gone through that process yet, right? It is a brick and mortar. So it would be a guess on my part. I guess it would be depending on the market that they're opening in, what's going on in the real estate market at that time. We do have companies that we've partnered with to help with the site selection and lease negotiations and the construction build out, some of the best in the business to help facilitate all of that. But to give you an actual number, it would just be really a guess on my part.
Okay. Of course, real estate is always an inaccurate prediction in many cases. So I understand inaccurate. Is that a word? I don't think that's a word. But anyway, you know what I'm saying. Talk a little bit about your training program. What can the new applicants expect both classroom and in the field?
Yeah, so we were just talking about that a little bit. Our training program is very robust. Every script is documented with videos, with text, and in different ways. So, for example, if you're going to conduct a birthday parties for kids, every single aspect of that party, who says what, when you say it, how you say it, it's completely documented. All of the recipes are documented with tutorials. Our philosophy, our curriculum, when it comes to the ingredients themselves, I mentioned the bad, better, and best of the different ingredients. That's all documented. We have an online training manual that we've been, working on and improving for years and years. So I would say that there's nothing that a new franchisee is going to require that's not documented. Now, I also mentioned that, you don't know what you don't know. So if somebody comes along and we realize that something is not there and it should be, we're going to be all over it. We'll be adding it to our training through video tutorials and text and whatever it takes, basically.
Okay, very good. And Arthur, again, I'd like to thank you for being so thorough with your answers. If there's one takeaway from this interview today that we may not have touched on, is there anything else that you'd like our viewers to know about the Real Food Academy?
That's a good one. Anything I'd like to take away that we haven't talked about? No, just that I think that we have a very special brand. We're looking for the right person because we're just getting started. We don't have a lot of validation. The candidate should also be sort of a pioneer, maybe a little bit more of a risk taker than the average person. But if they fit all of the other criteria that we talked about, purpose-driven, into food, but not restaurants, health and wellness, and they're a little bit more of a risk taker than the average person. They want to be the hometown hero in their community. That's what I'd like to leave the consultants with. And the fact that Maria and I are fully dedicated, ready, willing, and able to support the heck out of our first group of franchisees.
Okay. Well, Arthur, I'd like to thank you for the privilege of your time today. This entire interview will be posted on the FranServe support site. It'll be archived in the FranServe library, and it'll also be uploaded to Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn for the outside world, for all the wonderful people outside of FranServe to tie into and to learn from. And with that, Arthur, we'd like to thank you again, and we will adjourn today's FranTastic InSights recording. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, David. Thank you for the invitation.
Take care now. Bye-bye.
Bye.